Remember that you aren't playing the game. You are stuck in the game. Remember that you haven't chosen the game. Remember that you aren't even the player either. You are a pawn in the game. Do you still want the game to indefinitely continue? If you were detached enough to call the whole thing really a game, then wonderful. But are you detached? Can a pawn in the game be detached from the game? Are you really just a witness to the game? Have you no stakes in the game? Ask yourself. And if you have stakes in something, are you justified in calling it a game? Huh? That's not right, right? When you have terrible stakes and interests in something, how do you call it a mere game? Yes, conventionally, in wisdom literature, in spiritual literature, life has been termed as a game of which you are a mere observer. But that is for those who are in fact observers. How many of us are mere observers? And if you are not an observer, you want to end the state of being a slavish participant in the game. The game really need not end. It's your relationship with the game that must end. The sun rises, the sun sets, the vehicle passes, the man and the woman are chatting. The markets are full of temptations, and life is full of illusions. If they can just remain as they are, without carrying meaning or substance for you, then let the game continue. Then you have already died. Then the game can continue and you are somewhere else sipping your... But do you remain undisturbed, unaffected when you see the man and the woman chatting? Do you really remain unaffected, uninfluenced when you look at that big car or that big building? Are you unblemished by memories and hopes? If you are, then let the game continue. Otherwise, the game must end. And when I say the game must end, what do I mean? Your particular and personal relationship with the game must end. It is not a healthy relationship. And as long as the relationship is not healthy, you can't even call it a game. It is a game only for chaps like him. For us, it's not a game. For us, it's a long, sordid story in which we are playing a tragic part. How do I call it a game?
Can't you call it with humor?
You see, it would be a very...
It's not so serious. That's what I mean.
If you are not serious, then you have already dropped out. But how many of us are not really serious about things? You know, you are not serious probably about a few things. But is there anybody here who is not serious at all? There are chaps who are serious about this. There is somebody else who is serious about this. A third one is serious about this. The objects of seriousness vary. Somebody is serious about money and somebody has left money and is now serious about salvation. But are you not serious at all? As long as you are serious, you have interest, you have a stake, you feel incomplete. And then there would always be something in the world which would enslave you. It is easy to say that the world is serious about all this, and I'm not serious about all this. You must ask yourself, isn't there something else hidden somewhere that you are alternatively serious about? I don't want anything else. I only want God.
So you are interested in God then?
Of course. You are still interested in something. What is that state of total disinterest? Such disinterest that can't even be called as disinterest. The moment you call it disinterest, you have still related it to something. A state of such total joyful fullness that no relationship is possible. No relationship is possible because you are total. And how can the total relate to anything? Nothing outside of total exists. Why am I decrying relationships? Because our relationships are relationships of deficiencies. We say we are little, incomplete, and hence we relate to something to feel bigger and complete. I am lonely, or I am not knowledgeable, so I want a person or a book or a teacher to feel complete. That's why I'm saying that relationships based on interest, based on an internal hollowness, are all recipes for slavery.
But if the total is everything, then that's also total.
In the total, does if exist? How do you utter if and total in the same breath? How? If means conditional, and the total is unconditional. How do you say if the truth were that? Or if the total were that? Use the intellect, look at such things. Sentence formation, etc. These are little things that the interest can capably look at.
So I am a slave and I am a master.
No.
Not that.
No. Because in the world, nothing called a master exists.
So
In the world, it is slaves controlling slaves. One slave calls himself a slave, and the controlling slave calls himself a master. True mastery is not the dual opposite of slavery. It is not as if the opposite of slave is master. The opposite of slavery is another kind of slavery.
So now I hear you talk about layers, actually.
Dimensions. There are layers and layers and layers, and all those layers are one. And then there is something beyond the layers, which you can't even call as a layer. All the layers are layers in mind. All that exists is mental. And then there is something that is so very existent that the mind can't perceive it. So the mind takes it as non-existent.
That we call nothing.
That we unfortunately have a need to call as something. There is no need to call it anything.
No.
we need to bother ourselves with the little that factually surrounds us. That is what we must rather talk about. Stuff that keeps us chained, stuff that keeps us disturbed, tense. The world, the material. Instead, we choose to talk about the total or the nothing or the empty or truth or God or whatever. You talked of Rishikesh. That is one thing that is often missing here. The encouragement to look directly and honestly at life as it is, your life. What are you doing? There is just too much talk of divine flashes and blissful jingles. Spiritual energies raining from the cosmos and such things. Experiences of rings and snakes and whatnot. And what happens to the life that you are actually leading moment to moment? Why aren't you talking about greed and ego and jealousy and fear and anger and whatnot? Unless you acknowledge that, how are you going to move beyond? By not talking of that, you're just escaping. So much of Rishikesh is about singing nursery rhymes to a cancer patient. The fellow has cancer and you are giving him sweet music, something that will make him feel good. You aren't prepared to diagnose the whole thing in depth. Worse still, you are just not prepared to go through the pain of the treatment. If you acknowledge that you have cancer, you will also have to now go through the pain that is associated with treatment. So nice. Sweep the cancer under the carpet. Let's sit in a divine mudra and all chant Om. Is that what Om or Pranav was meant to do? Help one deceive oneself? Aren't we insulting the scriptures when we misuse and abuse them this way? Yoga, first of all, means that your thoughts and your actions must be aligned with the truth. Thoughts and actions must be merged in the truth. That is yoga, a union. If we are not looking at our thoughts and actions, instead we are just practicing a few physical postures, even mastering them, will it ever help? But it's good because we are body-centered people. So we find it good to have a more fit body. And who wants to refuse if the process of having a more fit body is ornamented as, called as, labeled as a spiritual process? You are getting a fit body and also a certificate of spirituality to boot. Nice. Now nobody can taunt you. Now nobody can accuse you of just being physically fit. You are saying, no, no, no. I'm not just physically fit, I am a yogi. Without ever bothering to know what yoga really is. And one looks attractive, right? A few kilos are lost. And all those are genuine benefits. I don't want to deny. You will live longer, maybe. And you will have a more agile and supple body, more flexible body. But what will you do with that body? If the mind is not centered in truth, what will you do with a more agile body? You will only perpetuate your nonsense with greater agility. Your muscles will be more powerful to cause havoc and destruction and violence. Because the work has been only at the physical level. The mind is the same.
So, outside of doing things that seem totally, borderline dangerous to your intellect, and I guess also studying the roots and practicing the actual roots of what yoga is, not just the surface level, do you have any suggestions, or is that everything?
That is too much. If you can practice 5% of what you said, you would be somebody. That is just too much. Even right now you see, the ego wants to take a measure. The intellect wants to enumerate. So how big is the whole thing? Is this, or is there more to it? You see how it operates?
I'm just legitimately asking, what, if you
Yes.
have suggestion.
Suggestions are asked when what has already been suggested has been executed. When you haven't executed anything out of the 5 suggestions already given and are yet asking for the 6th one, then you don't wish to execute, then you wish to take a measure. Then you are just trying to encircle. Then you are just trying to weigh. And there is nothing wrong with it. It's a good insight into how the intellect operates. It doesn't want to live. It just wants to intellectually know. It doesn't want to live surrender. It wants to know more about surrender.
Well, when I'm not here, I'm actually practicing.
What if you are practicing something? Can the practice be conditional or seasonal or limited to a place and time? Further, lot of that which you enumerated has been advised by me right now. How can you practice it elsewhere and when? When I mentioned it just now, right now, how are you practicing it outside of this physicality?
Well, yoga I already practiced, the whole doing.
But am I
crazy
talking
shit.
of yoga?
You talk about union and the concepts of yoga.
Yes.
Just-
So, if that is a suggestion, then one first lives that.
and
The
isn't that-
thing with the intellect is, it gathers everything and lives nothing. Don't gather everything or even something. Just live. If you can live even one sentence of what the scriptures say or what the gurus have said, enough. But the intellect would rather accumulate. I know. Do you live? Yes, you know, J-O-Y. You know, J-O-Y. Do you live that? It's a stream that we are habituated to. It carries us away with it. The course of time has made it very, very forceful. You will not even know when it has silently carried you away. It is not only strong but also undetectable. That makes it doubly lethal. It's like a stealth atomic bomber. Not only is it carrying nuclear tipped missiles, it is also undetectable. That's the inner flow of the intellect. Carries you away silently and destroys you. You don't even know that you have lost it. And it's happening moment by moment, always.
So I know nothing.
Too much to say.
I know very little, I could say.
It's like claiming the entire knowledge of the world and more.
Yeah, but
When you
also-
say that you know nothing, you have claimed just too much knowledge.
Ah. But what should I have knowledge for when everything goes like this?
You can have everything.
Quick knowledge.
Yeah, you can have knowledge, you can have intellect, you can have thoughts, you can have travel and property and whatever.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
You can have everything. Just cater to the principle. Just be submitted to the first one. After that, the first one will decide what all you can have. And the first one is not insistent on keeping you a pauper even in material terms. If you are submitted to the truth, why do you fear that you will have to lead a life of material deprivation? It's a myth. Man anyway does not need much. And as much as you truly need will be provided for. Provided for not in the sense that it will rain from the heavens. It will be provided for because you will genuinely work for it. But work comes later. First comes the source of the work. The engine from where the motivation, the energy is arising.
So I say, you work too much. Stop working so much. This could save the earth. Stop doing.
This fellow that you see here,
Yeah,
he kept working till his last breath.
yeah, but
There is nothing wrong with working. The point is, who is the master making you work? What exactly is moving you? What is your engine? What is your fuel? He kept moving from village to village and he put together an entire Sangh, a huge organization, a monastic order. Too little or too much? That is not the question. Too little work might be all right, and a lot of work might be needed sometimes. The question is, the real and the relevant question is, when you are working, whom are you serving? When you are working, for whom are you working? Are you working to take care of your little and wounded ego? Are you working to take care of your little material insecurities? Are you working so that the other can call you an achiever? Or are you dancing for some reason of the heart? That is the question. For reasons of the heart, you can dance too much and it will never be too much. And for reasons of the heart, you may decide to not to move an inch and you are not to be blamed. It's all right. The question is not the quantity of work. The question is the origin of the work. Where does your work come from? Why are you working? Why do you go to your office every day? Or why do you not go to the office? That's the question.